Morning. Welcome to today's webinar. We're here to talk about accounting new year preparation. First of all, at the very top of the document, it does show what our support hours are in January, what our extended hours are, and it shows what holidays we're closed for, where support's unavailable. So we like to make that clear to folks right away. But our extended hours in January, folks, take advantage of that, of course. But below that, it talks about accounting end of year instructions opening a new year. This is probably one of the things that I can't stress enough, or I've been doing this for almost over 20 years, folks. And I just want to state unequivocally, excuse me, that open the new year now. There is no requirement to be finished with 2024 in order to open 2025. Okay, and I'm going to go through it today, and it's October 24th. Okay, you can work between the two different accounting years for as long as you need or want. There is no requirement to be finished with this year in order to open and prepare for the new year. Don't think of it as closing 2024 as much as opening 2025. You can prepare and enter the budget. You can do work on your chart of accounts. You can rework the chart of accounts. There's all kinds of things you can do to be prepared for 2025 without waiting until the last minute and have to suddenly rush to get caught up and get everything done in a short period of time. I mean, I've been working with folks, who have had the new year open since September, last month, okay, or even earlier in some cases, okay, they know that they can begin working on the new year right now and not feel like they're behind and having to hurry when they are actually now then needing to work in 2025. And we're going to show you more of that as the webinar goes on here, or the event goes on, okay? Again, don't think of it as closing 24, but opening 25, okay? As the second paragraph says, all of the data in accounting years are kept active and available for you. And that's true whether you close the previous year or not, as the case may be. But you can move back and forth between the accounting years at will anytime you want, okay? And continue working and recording transactions in both years, even after we're in 25 and 25 is open, okay? And we're working in it. In the italicized section down there at the bottom, third paragraph down under the first page of our document talks about before opening your new accounting year. All right, I think it's important that you begin to look at it now, this section of it, but if it occurs before you open the new year or after, I think that's debatable, okay? But what we're about to look at is something that simply needs to be addressed, okay? And what we're talking about is when we go to pay bills in accounting, right up here to Quick Pay and view outstanding bills, okay? If there are any bills here that are outstanding, you want to make sure that those are dealt with, okay? We don't want to have things hanging out here like this that are undealt with. Sure, if you've got a bill that you have entered in December of 2024 that you're not going to pay until January of 25, great. No problem at all, okay? But if there are things in this list that need to be dealt with that are paid or are unsure, you should investigate these, because if not, these are going to continue to show up as outstanding bills forever until they're dealt with. And it's better to deal with them now than it is in 6 months from now or 6 years from now. Okay, it becomes a lot more difficult to deal with them the further they go on. So the thing that we're noticing here, and we've got a document out on the website on dealing under the Resource Center page on dealing with outstanding bills, okay, is have they been paid? Okay, so I'm looking here, I've got the data January 15th. I know the transaction numbers. I know the amounts due, which are the amount of each one of the bills. But the most important part about this is right here in the column called account balance. Right there, folks, that account balance reflecting the balance of 0 pretty much confirms that those bills were paid, okay? If they had a balance that was an amount due that was the same as the amount due, then we might be looking at maybe duplicate bills or maybe bills that had missing payments. But until we go dive in and look at it, We simply don't know, okay? But the fact that these account balances for both of these bills are zero, I'm 99% sure that they've been paid, okay? I just simply need to go in and make sure that those bills are marked as paid. All right, and there's a way we can do that, and it's covered in that document that I'm mentioning. Transactions, browse, right up here in the upper left. We're going to let the software do the work to find them for us. And this is true if there are transactions even in the prior year, folks. We're not doing anything to change balances here, okay? We're just tying a bill back to a payment. We're going to go to Change Year, Filter, and Sort. I'm going to go to Clear All over here on the far right. I'm going to check Just Bill Transactions, and directly to the far left, I'm going to uncheck Show Paid. And then we're going to simply click OK. I'm asking the software to display any bill or invoice that in 2024 that is not marked as paid. Okay? And I click OK, and there's my bills. Okay? So I'm going to simply click on one of them, AEP, January 15th for 5/43/21. I'm going to click Correct. Right up here in the upper right-hand corner, I've got this button labeled Mark as Paid. Okay? So when I click on that button, it's going to open up a list of payments that I've paid historically for this vendor. And if we notice, this goes back years. But I'm going to go to scroll down, and I'm going to look for a transaction on January of 2024. There it is for January 15th. For 5/43/21, I'm going to click that, click OK, and save corrections. It now says my corrections have been saved. When it closes out, we notice that that bill now no longer shows because it no longer meets my criteria of an unpaid bill. I'm going to do it one more time. Click on the bill, click Correct. Again, let me back up. Make a note of the date and the amount. That's the two most important things here. Technically, folks, I could choose any payment in that list. It doesn't matter. But if I can tie the bill back to the payment that paid it, I want to do that. So January 15th for $789.01, click Correct, mark as paid, scroll down until I find January 15th of 2024, same amount, perfect, highlight it, click OK, and save corrections. Click OK. My list is now clear. So now when I go back to Pay Bills, Quick Pay, and View Outstanding Bills, it's empty. Okay? Every January, folks, or February, you definitely, folks, do not want to close a year with outstanding bills, any bills that are outstanding. Okay, every year in January or February, I get a call from a handful of folks who said, oh, I've closed my year and I've got some outstanding bills from the previous year that I now need to deal with. What do I do? Well, it becomes a very different problem when the year is closed. Can't reopen the year. Okay? So make sure, folks, that you are looking at that list of outstanding bills and either ensuring that it's empty or clear, or that it only shows things that are outstanding at the end of the year that won't be paid until the new year accurately. Okay? So that's what that talks about on that little italicized paragraph there on page 1, okay, is dealing with those outstanding bills. If it has a balance, then that's a different problem. We may need to hear from you on support in order to help deal with that, okay? Or look at the document out on the website under outstanding bills, okay? All right, let's go to page 2 and talk about opening the new year. Folks, make a backup. Okay, if we open 2025 now, and then a month from now I go, oh, I'm not sure I like what I've done. I want to go back to before I open the year. Well, you can't go back and delete 2025 once you've got things posted in it. Okay, so a backup is your best friend. If you call me on support and you go, oh, I want to go back in and do something and restore back and reopen 2025. The only way you can do that is by going back and restoring a backup of your accounting data from before you open the year. So make sure to go back to the home screen. Hopefully you're backing up the data regularly, but go to Administration, Backup, and make a backup. Okay? Put it into a specific folder and call it, pre-opening 2020 or 2025 opening. Okay, so you know what that point in time was for and what that backup was for. Okay, so once that's done, all right, how we're now going to move on to step 2. Okay, backups are important. This is true even for cloud users, of course, Church Windows Web. You can make a backup of your data as well. We're now ready to open and create the new year, and that's done by, right here's our current accounting year, and I'm just going to point this out again. Right here, January through December 24, okay? So that is our new year. We're going to go up to Special Functions, Manage Years. We're going to say Set Up New Accounting Year. It's going to pop up and say, are you sure you want to open the new year? Yes, I absolutely do. Click Yes. Does its gyrations, and then it opens up the setup. Create next accounting year, January through December 2025. Let me get that out of the way there. It also wants to copy my budget, my chart of accounts from the previous year, and it wants to copy my budget amounts. Okay? If you don't want to copy the chart of accounts and start over, you can choose to create an empty chart of accounts. But it is completely empty, folks. You are literally entering the chart of accounts from scratch if you do that. If things are that bad and that's warranted, then by all means do that. But there's no direct link between you're essentially establishing a line in time between the end of 24 and a new chart of accounts starting January of 2025. Things have got to be pretty dire usually if that's the case. I typically, 99% of the time will do that. With most users, will copy the chart of accounts from the prior year. All right. Also, most of the time, we strongly recommend copying the budget amounts. Okay. Here's the reason. A couple reasons why. If only some of the budget amounts change and some don't, you saved yourself work. All right. And even if all of the budget amounts change, then maybe the accounts that are being budgeted won't. So you can still go in and edit the budgets, but you won't have to recheck most, if not all, of the accounts as budgeted accounts. You'll be able to go right into the budget window and see which accounts are budgeted and which are not. So 2 reasons why you probably would want to copy the budget amounts over. They can always be changed or removed. Okay? So we're going to leave those, and we're going to click OK, and it does its business. And now notice the year up here now shows January through December 2025. So the new year is now open. Okay? In the middle of page 2, it talks about closing a year. Okay? I'm going to come back to that note here that's right below step 2 momentarily, but it's even on page 3 down at the bottom, even more so. Okay, so we're going to wait and kind of hold off and talk about that then. You can hard close a year in Church Windows accounting, okay? Basically preventing changes to an accounting year, all right? But once it's closed, it cannot be reopened. There is not a function in the software to reopen a closed accounting year, okay? You call me on support, I can't open your accounting year for you, okay? None of my technicians can, all right? There's a reason why the hard close is there, and that is because the church has said, we want to make no further changes to the Church Windows database once it's closed. And we adhere to that. So once it's closed, it's closed. So there's no hurry to close a year. The software doesn't care when you close it. So if you decide, oh, okay, I want to close the year in June of 2025, that's perfectly okay as far as Church Windows is concerned. And again, you can still work back and forth between the 2 years. Okay? If you're having an audit done, you probably would want to hold off and wait until after that audit is complete and the recommended changes are made. Okay? That's what that's highlighting in the bold there at the bottom of that closing year section. To close in a year, you'd go up to Special Functions, Manage Years, and Close Accounting Year. Okay? Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to look at that even. It's there if you need it, but if you need it, you're going to want it probably sometime next year. All right? So we're not even going to take a peek at that. That's as much as it's going to, basically it says select the accounting year and click OK and close it. That's all it is. If I click OK on it, it says, here's things to consider. Which year do you want to close? Choose it, click OK. It then pops up and says, are you sure you want to close an accounting year? Because again, folks, it cannot be reopened. Okay? So please be cautious. And again, is there one of those situations where making a backup beforehand might be a really, really good idea? All right. Additional accounting information, new budget figures for income and expense accounts. So we're going to cancel out of that. If I'm ready to go in and work in the budget for the new year, I'm in the year. I'm going to go up to budgets and budget, or budget in the middle. And here are the accounts with all of the check marks down the left side, down the right side here in the budgeted column. Right here, this column called budgeted, all right? That's where that budget is checked and entered, okay? So when it's checked and I click on it, over to the right is a location where I can enter or edit or amend the budget, okay? If an account is not budgeted, you simply put a check mark in it, and then it opens up a place, annual, quarterly, or monthly location to enter the budget. And that's true, folks, for income or expense accounts. I just did a webinar on the budget in Church Windows accounting like last week, I believe. So video's not out there yet, or maybe it is, I don't recall, but there's another one out there on entering the budget, and that's as much as I'm going to spend on that. We do have a budget projection. Now that I'm in the new year, under the budget projection, I can have the software pre-calculate a budget for 2025 based on a percentage increase or decrease in the prior year's either budget or actual monies, actual income or expense totals. Okay, right up here. Income budgets, increase, decrease, percent based on last year's budget or actual. Same is true for expenses. Okay, so if I go, okay, I'm going to increase my budget income based on a 2% increase of last year's budgeted amount, and my expense accounts are going to decrease based on a 2% decrease based on the budget or the actual, and I click View Projection, and over here on the right, notice then those amounts change, and if I like it, I can save and close it, okay? But until I click Save and Close, nothing's saved, okay? Very helpful tool, often underutilized, but it's there if you need it. And I can still go into individual accounts and make changes to them, individual accounts, even after the budgets have been, the projection has been entered, saved, and I want to change individual accounts. Okay. Bottom of page 3, working in the old and the new year. I'm in December. I still got to go back into 24 and make changes. I go up to Special Functions, Manage Years, change to another existing accounting year. Here I choose 2024. It's already there. I click OK. I'm now back in the old year, prior year, current year. That's it, current year. Okay. When I'm ready to go back into 25, I do the exact same thing. Manage years, change to another existing accounting year, choose 25 and click OK. But pay attention, folks, to which year you're in. If I'm in 25 and I attempt to enter a bill with the 24 date, it won't let me. So keep an eye on those. Now we're at the bottom of page 20, bottom of page 3 here that talks about that bold section, okay? Updating beginning balances, okay? When I'm in 25, this is probably one of the most important parts of the end of year procedure, and it is the one that is what allows you to work between the two accounting years as long as you need or want. If I'm in 25 and I go up to Special Functions, Manage Years, choose Update Beginning Balances from prior accounting year ending balances, it says, are you sure you want to update balances for 25 from 24? I'm going to click Yes. What it's doing is it's bringing forward the balance sheet totals that it sees at this time on my balance sheet in 24 and populates them automatically into the beginning balances for 25. Okay? And I can run the balance sheet for the end of 24 and include the balance sheet totals for the beginning of 25 and compare them, and they'll have the same balances. This is what allows you to work between the 2 years. So when I go back into 24 and make further changes, I come back into 25, I go up to Special Functions, Manage Years, and Update Beginning Balances again. You can update the beginning balances, folks, as many times as you need or want. If you're unsure or you need to, just update them. The software is not going to manufacture balances that don't exist. So if you go, well, I'm not sure if they need to be updated, just do it. It's worse if they don't have if the beginning balances are not updated for the new year than if you just do it. I see it a lot in support calls. Make sure they're updated. You can compare those balance sheets, but if you're in doubt or if you don't know what to look for on the balance sheet, just go ahead and come into the new year and open and update those beginning balances. Okay? That's what it talks about at the top of page 4 there is in accounting, make sure you're in the current year. And what I mean by current year is, in this case, the new year 2025. Okay? So again, it's just ensuring that your assets liability balances from the end of December are brought forward into the beginning balance column for 2025. All right, finally, with a few minutes left, talking about changing the chart of accounts. This is kind of, after all, why we're wanting to open the new year now, right? Is because entering budget amounts, maybe cleaning up and deleting accounts you no longer need, maybe reworking and renumbering, okay? So changing the accounts in accounting is very simple. So if I'm in 25 now and I want to change maybe, say, a handful of accounts or a few accounts, I'm going to go to Manage Accounts here or Chart of Accounts in View in the upper left. And I'm going to go down the Tree View tab here, right? Maybe I can find an account. So if, let's say, I mean, honestly, folks, this is true for any account in our Tree View. So my assets or my liabilities and fund balances. But if I go here and I find, say, an income or an expense account, and I click on it and I right-click, I choose Edit. It allows me to change the account name, the account number, and or the subtotal where it's sitting. That is true, folks, for every account in our chart of accounts. So again, if I've got a handful of accounts I'm changing, this is probably the fastest and easiest place to do that. Okay? If I have a lot of accounts to change, it might be better for me to go up to Special Functions right here and change account number structure. Warns me about exclusive access, but right here, account number before renumbering, account number after renumbering, and I can literally just go down the list here, changing the account numbers as needed, and then saving them at the top right when I'm done. Changing account numbers, in this case in 2025, does not change those same accounts in 24 or earlier, folks. Same is true when dealing with deleting accounts. Okay? So I am just changing the accounts in 2025, not in prior years. Okay? Finally, at the bottom there, page 4, it does talk about running the balance sheet report. You know, again, what I can do is if you're unsure about the prior year versus new year balances, I can go to Financial, Balance Sheet, choose, say, 2024 as of December 31st, say. Doesn't matter. I mean, through the end of the year. Go to my columns, make sure the column called year-to-date balance is there, and go to Print. So it shows my year-to-date totals of assets of $1,681,334. Liabilities and fund balances match that. Perfect. Now I close out, go back to my year of 2025. The period doesn't matter because beginning balances are always January 1 at midnight, and when I click Print and go to the columns and make sure beginning balance is added to the visible columns on the right, and I go to Print, and sure enough, $1,681,334.10 under my beginning balances. So that's the way to check to make sure that those ending and beginning balances match the way they should. If they didn't, I would update my 2025 beginning balances. Okay? All right, folks, that is where we are going to leave our topic for today.